causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord?
Welcome to Maundy Thursday. On this night, Jesus will share a final Passover meal with his disciples. But as we continue to explore the people who are at the cross, we come to the second of three men for whom the cross was a moment of conversion. One of the surprising things about the Gospels is that although the cross is the focal point of the message, the crucifixion is described in very little detail. Mark is especially brief, and he doesn't give any of the details about how Jesus was put on the cross or how excruciating the pain was. He simply states that they crucified him. Everyone in the ancient world would have known what that meant. Mark did not need to go into all the gory details. What Mark does include are some of the moments of theological significance to help us understand that this is what God willed. They crucified Jesus at the third hour, about 9 o'clock in the morning. And for about 3 hours, they heaped insults upon him. At about the 6th hour, that's at noon, at the point in the day when the sun is its highest and its brightest, the whole land became dark. It's an ominous sign. It was the plague of darkness which came over the land of Egypt because of the curse of God and just before the death of the firstborn at Passover. And what the darkness hides is revealed in the words of Jesus. My God, why have you forsaken me? God has hidden his face from his Son. Jesus cries out in a loud voice, and then he dies. The curtain of the temple is torn apart from top to bottom. Observing these events was a Roman centurion. A centurion was the commander of 100 soldiers. He rose up through the ranks as a battle-hardened combatant. His strength would be his cold indifference to the people in whose land he and his soldiers occupied. He was the ranking officer that day. He was the one in charge. He was the one who ordered the nails to be hammered through the hands. He was one who had seen many crucifixions. They were not uncommon. It was a cruel, it was a heinous method of execution. It was full of torment. Death came essentially as the result of exhaustion. The early hours of a crucifixion were typically filled with screams of pain and cursing, but as time went on and moment by moment passed, the crucified became weaker and weaker until finally exhausted, the weight of his own body became too heavy to lift in order to breathe. Unconsciousness would take over and the crucified would die silently, too weary to speak and too weary to breathe. He would quietly expire. The centurion had seen this dozens, perhaps hundreds of times. He knew what a crucifixion was supposed to look like. He had become hardened to the screams of the crucified, ambivalent to their suffering. But this day, something was different. The death of Jesus was not the death of a normal crucifixion. The strength and power of Christ was so extraordinary, the centurion spontaneously acknowledged, this man is the Son of God. In the sight of everyone else, a powerless man, and yet in the sight of the centurion, a powerful death. The centurion never saw the miracles of Jesus, never heard Jesus teaching. He was never a witness to the ministry of Jesus. The only thing he knew about Jesus was what he saw in those last 6 hours, the mockery and his death. Jesus did not die quietly. He did not gradually fall into unconsciousness. He died with a powerful shout and one last breath. Hearing this centurion's statement today, we don't realize what a huge leap it was for him to say this was the Son of God. For Mark's first readers, who may have been Romans themselves, this was a stunning statement. It was an assertion that could put his life in danger. You see, a centurion had sworn allegiance to the emperor, and the title Son of God properly belonged to the emperor and to the emperor alone. The emperor had absolute power, had the divine right to power. And yet here stands this Roman centurion, witnessing not any great demonstration of power, but simply the power to be obedient even unto death. No apparent splendor or might. And yet who does he see? Truly this man was the Son of God. He declares of Jesus what should have only been declared about the Roman emperor. He declared, Caesar is not Son of God. Jesus, the crucified Christ, he is the Son of God. And he switched from Caesar, the world's official Son of God, to Jesus, the true Son of God. His was a single voice which spoke in defiance of every other. When the crowds, the Pharisees, the Sadducees saw Jesus on the cross, they saw proof that he was a fraud. But the Gentile centurion, when he saw Jesus on the cross, he acknowledged Jesus as the Son of God. 2 millennium ago, a centurion stood among a throng of scoffers and mockers who were too busy reveling in what they had done to cause the suffering of another, to be able to see the power of God at work in their midst. But as he looked at the cross and he saw Jesus, it changed everything for him. He saw the power of love. He saw the power of forgiveness. He saw that truly this man was the Son of God.
Were you there when they crucified my Lord?